Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. The ugly side of Jantar Mantar crackdown is playing out in the lives of young kids. And today I'm going to talk about this 15-year-old teenager who released a public video apology to the nation after facing a heavy backlash and legal action for using abusive language against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Uh, I shouldn't be taking her name, though her name is quite in the public domain. That girl has stated that she visited Connaught Place with her friends and stumbled upon the ongoing protest. She claimed she got peer pressured and carried away under the influence of the crowd who were chanting derogatory slogans. Now, this is what she said, that with folded hands, if you look at the video, and I'm going to play that out with a blurred image of hers, she says with folded hands that she expressed deep remorse, stating that what she did was unforgivable and that she's so ashamed that she cannot even raise her eyes. And she promised that this would be her first and the last mistake. A zero FIR was initially filed at Noida's Expressway Police Station under the Bharati Nyaya Samhita. The investigation has since been transferred to the Delhi police for further jurisdiction as the event occurred in the national capital. Now, prior to her video release, her mother had also submitted a formal written apology to the police. And as a response, then, Prime Minister Narendra Modi shot another Insta reel last night saying that he forgives the misguided youths and also has appealed the Gen Z to come along with him. Now, let's decode as to what is really happening to PM Modi and also those teenagers whose names have figured in the FIRs. And of course, the big question is that will these Gen Zs trust Prime Minister Modi? Now, let's first listen to what the video apology by the girl was, and then I will play out the video of Prime Minister Modi. Let's play out the video of the teenager.
मैं सीपी गई थी अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ, फिर वहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा था, मैंने वहाँ पे कोक पी, वहाँ पे ग्रुप बने हुए थे बहुत सारे, वो लोग बहुत चीज़ें बोल रहे थे, बहुत गालियाँ दे रहे थे प्रधानमंत्री जी को, उन लोगों के इन्फ्लुएंस में आके कि तुम लोग भी बोलो, कोई सब बोलो करके मैंने बहुत चीज़ें बोली। मैं भी मात्र 15 साल की हूँ, मैंने जो करा वो माफ़ी के लायक नहीं था, मैंने बहुत गंदी चीज़ें बोली है, बट ये मेरी पहली और आखिरी गलती होगी। इसके बाद मैं ऐसा कुछ नहीं करूँगी और ना ही वो चीज़ मैंने कभी पोस्ट की थी। मैं पूरे देश से माफ़ी मांगती हूँ। मैं इतनी शर्मिंदा हूँ, मैं अपनी नज़र भी नहीं उठा पा रही हूँ। मैं सबसे माफ़ी मांग रही हूँ, मुझे प्लीज़ माफ़ कर दीजिए, प्लीज़।
It's really heart-wrenching to see this video by a 15-year-old teenager. Why she was subjected to a pressure like this, I have really no idea. But by midnight, Prime Minister Modi recorded an Insta reel, and I want you all to listen to what Prime Minister Modi had to say. Let's play that out.
हाय फ्रेंड्स, आज तो मन करता है बस आपसे ही बातें करूं। जंतर मंतर पर जो कुछ भी हुआ देश और दुनिया ने देखा है। कुछ शरारती बच्चों ने भद्दी भद्दी गालियां बोली, किसी भी सभ्य समाज को शोभा न दे ऐसे शब्दों का प्रयोग किया गया। मुझे तो गालियां दी गई, मेरी स्वर्गीय माता को भी गालियां दी गई। न जाने कितना भद्दा स्वरूप था, लेकिन मैं आज बात करना चाहता हूं कि बचपन में गलतियां होती हैं और बचपन में गलतियों से सुधरने का अवसर भी होता है, और यही तो बचपना है। और इसलिए मैं समाज के अंदर जो आक्रोश है उसको भली भांति समझ सकता हूं। एक कल्चरल शॉक है कि हमारी बेटियां इस प्रकार की भाषा कैसे बोल सकती हैं, लेकिन समय है इन बच्चों को गले लगा करके राह दिखाने का। एक गुमराह बच्चे हैं, उनको राह दिखाना हमारा काम है। उनको सजा देना, अदालतों के चक्कर कटवाना, समाज में उनको प्रताड़ित करना, इससे हम परिस्थितियां नहीं बदल पाएंगे। मैं उन्हें माफ करना चाहता हूं। समाज भी मेरी इस बात को स्वीकार करे, क्योंकि मेरे मन में एक ही भाव है। कभी कभी दांतों तले हमारी जीभ आ जाती है, खून निकल आता है, लेकिन हम दांत तोड़ते नहीं हैं, क्योंकि दांत भी हमारे हैं, जीभ भी हमारी है।
So he gives various analogies of teeth, tongue. Then he says, I want to forgive those children. It's a cultural shock to see how our girls are using expletives. That's what he's saying. We'll try and decode now as to what is really happening to our children, as in those teenagers who went to Jantar Mantar. It almost looks like as if they did a crime by going to Jantar Mantar, raising slogans for a systemic rot that had set in the education field. And they were asking simply for certain basic things. That was Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. They were asking the government to clean up the rot in the education system, and for which a 15-year-old teenager is subjected to a pressure like this, where she issues a public apology. Will other children also be forced now to do this? Because there was an FIR, there was a zero FIR against this girl. Before that, her parents issued an apology. And then ultimately, it looks like that this was an alleged forced apology. This is what it looks like at the outset. But Prime Minister Modi is saying that I have forgiven the youths. They are misled. It's a cultural shock. He also sermonizes and he also says that let's come along. That's what the appeal he makes towards the end. So the big question is that when Prime Minister Modi says, I forgive the misled youths, will the Gen Z trust the Prime Minister? That's $1 million question, and we're going to talk about it and the entire story, how it's playing out. Joining me this evening is Professor Tanveer Ejaz, professor at the Ramjas College of University of Delhi. Thank you so much, Professor Tanveer, for joining. We have TK Rajlakshmi, senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much for joining. We have who's a YouTuber and also a researcher with Yuva Halla Bol. Thank you so much, Anchal, for joining. And let me begin with Rajlakshmi to put the things in perspective. On one hand, you have a video apology of this teenager who lived in Noida. First, her age was that was made out to be 25 years. And that's why she issues a clarification in that video apology saying that I'm just 15. So what we are presuming is that a 15-year-old girl obviously must be, and that's what my guess is, must be in class 10. Her parents must have gone horrified after the FIR must have been lodged that that poor girl has to give her board exams. She has to go through the 12th, class 12, then she has to take admissions in the university. Why should we get into that? And what did that girl do? That girl went to Jantar Mantar in solidarity with what was happening and what was the pain and anguish of so many other youngsters like her. And when you juxtapose this video apology with Prime Minister Modi's video, how do you see the things? Are Gen Z, will they really trust in what the Prime Minister says when he says that I'm going to forgive?
I mean, I think this entire FIR, the filing of the FIR, the zero FIR, also was clearly done at the behest of a certain amount of pressure from his end, perhaps not directly, but of course indirectly, and that there was a need to sort of do something about these youngsters who had spoken some words. Okay, fine. I think one may say that perhaps those words were not in good taste, but then who is responsible, Nilu, for this entire environment where such, in fact, vulgarity of language or obscenity of whatever language or words are used with a certain amount of freeness. Now he himself, the Prime Minister, of course, here you can say that the youngsters, they do not know as to what they're saying, and this is what he also seems to say, that they're young and therefore they should be sort of forgiven, and and मुंह से बात निकल जाती है, kind of a thing, when you're young. But then he's not young, and he's at an age and a stage where he's supposed to be speaking responsibly, and there have been so in fact many occasions where he said all kinds of outrageous things, be it against the minorities, be it against opposition leaders, and in fact not only him, but members of his party, MPs have made communal slurs on the floor of the house. We know what one man what one Mr. Bidhuri, it was Ramesh Bidhuri, I think, who spoke really, in fact, communal. I mean, absolutely communal expletives against a fellow against a fellow MP who happened to be a Muslim. That was done initially. Now, the other thing is that. That here, I mean, here the PM speaks, from the sense of being, victim here, as if he's been sort of victimized, and he's been sort of targeted. He's talking about his experience. In fact, I saw, video today which had been put out by Sanjay Singh, the Aam Aadmi Party MP, and where he says that please, Mr. Modi, you keep my phone, with you for one day, and you will see the kind of expletives that come from people who swear their allegiance to you and who are your supporters on a day-to-day basis. In fact, where they are trolling him, and where they're speaking all, in fact, all kinds of things against Sanjay Singh's, mother. Okay, so here, so he says, that I'm not hurt. I mean, he says I'm hurt. Just like you are hurt, I'm hurt. On a daily basis when such things are said, and there is nobody to rein them in. In fact, never has it been, Nilu, that Mr. Modi has ever, in fact, reined in the so-called fringe elements in his party, and also in the mass organizations like Bajrang Dal, BHP, etc. There's this BJP leader who is openly, in fact, roaming around issuing threats to some youngsters who participated in the CJP protest. In fact, he says he continues to appear on TV shows and says that he'll do it again. And in fact, these people should be, in fact, beaten up. He's seeing, manhandling those two youngsters and is threatening them, etc. Right? So I'm saying this is a kind of, open gundagardi, if I may use a word, which is taking place today. Okay, at the critics of the government, at the opposition parties, and of course, now, of course, because some CJP protesters, or those who took part in the protest by the default, or consciously, I mean, have used those terms. So now they are sort of getting after them. I mean, I do not think that the FIR has been quashed. I mean, he did not say a single word about the FIR, that the government, that he'll urge, okay, the authorities to sort of withdraw the FIR or to quash the FIR. He didn't say a word about that. So it's just his entire appeal is a sense he's trying to show that
So,
he's
but Rajalakshmi,
not a vindicated person.
would you see the video apology by the girl as some sort of an intimidation? Because maybe that girl is under pressure, and under pressure she would
Of
have
course.
recorded that video apology. Who knows that? Nobody knows. But that's what the mainstream media channels are saying. That look, these were the misguided youths who are now themselves realizing what went wrong. And let me go to Sarvesh. I'll come to you a little later because Sarvesh is traveling and his signal
Sure,
might
sure.
get disconnected. Sarvesh Tripathi is lawyer, Supreme Court, and also Samajwadi Party spokesperson. Sarvesh, thank you so much for joining. And this girl, the teenager who's recorded a video apology, uh, the mainstream channels are saying that look, this was a misguided youth who has now realized what mistake she made. And also on the social media, the kind of humiliation which she has to suffer, I would want you to speak on that, because she's a 15-year-old girl. She herself has admitted, so she's a juvenile. Her pictures are all over the media, her identity, her name, everything has been revealed, and everybody knows who her parents are. So, legally speaking, is that right? Is there a horrendous legal lacuna and a mistake which has been made because you've exposed a juvenile to such a big risk?
Yes, yeah, very correct, Nilu. The thing is, it is clearly a violation of Section 74, if I am not mistaken. Section 74 of Juvenile Justice Act 2015 clearly states that any media house, any social media platform is barred from revealing the identity, disclosure of identity of a minor.
I think he's again got disconnected. So we'll try and go back to, because he was explaining the legal side of it. I think yeah, Sarvesh is back. Yes, Sarvesh, go ahead, please.
So it is clearly a violation of Section 74 of Juvenile Justice Act 2015, where it clearly states that it is illegal, it is criminal to disclose the identity of a minor.
Yeah. So it's a Can you hear me, Sarvesh?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So
So it
you were
is, it
saying
is,
that.
it is. Yes,
Right,
it is
right. Go ahead.
legally wrong according to JJ Act. It is morally, ethically wrong, and it is a very cheap, vindictive action by the government. It is
Right.
clearly, forcibly done. If that minor is made to apologize on social media, so it is forcibly done, and it is very. You are playing with her future, with her career ahead, and the family, the safety security of the family, her relatives, her parents, everything is in danger. So media houses or the government is actually committing a crime here.
Okay, so Sarvesh, now the very fact that she had to undergo that kind of a humiliation, everybody is talking about that girl. Now the mainstream media has started mounting panel discussions, has started mounting programs on that little girl. I'm just worried what that girl must be going through right now, and how can we stop this kind of a pattern? What if there is another video apology which is issued by another protester tomorrow? What if there is a third one? What if there is a fourth one? This is a horrendous pattern. How can we arrest this trend now?
It is against the not about humiliation only. It is against the safety and security of the family, of the children we are talking about here. So it is very criminal of this government. What actually it is doing, it is making people file zero FIR on children, and they forcibly make to publish their apologies online, and now they are circulating. I am very happy, glad to see blurred image of the girl here on your platform. Otherwise, many social media platform and mainstream channels are clearly showing the video without blurring the face of the girl, and disclosing the identity of the girl, name of the girl, which is a
No,
criminal
but
act, criminal offense.
let me ask you, Sarvesh. I'm also worried about the parents. Were the parents not worried about the fact that their daughter's face is going to get exposed? Why did they not insist on blurring the face before issuing the video?
Why do we get ministers, ex-cabinet ministers or MPs go change the parties or their ideologies, be it money, be it force, be it uh, deterrence, or any weakness on their side that can be used against them. If this is the plight of ministers, how can we think of the parents, the ordinary parents of the child, or the girl we're talking about here? So it has been done forcibly, yes.
Right, but is there a guarantee that there won't be any more video apologies like this? Because Prime Minister Modi said that now we've forgiven the children. So, which means, are we to assume that there is going to be no pressure on the.
Basically, Prime Minister has forgiven the children, but children has not forgiven the Prime Minister, or the country won't forgive him for this act. The history
Right.
which would be written later will never forgive this Prime Minister. He will be a blot whenever the history would be written.
Right, but do you
Blot
think,
on
Sarvesh,
democracy, blot on humanity.
right, but Sarvesh, since you're also a spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, it's a run up to the UP elections now around the corner. Do you think that BJP would have lost, the attraction of the youth voters now? Because how Gen Z and especially the first-time voters, the 18-year-olds, how are they going to see BJP now, especially after this incident?
It is very clear in their eyes, despite of their coming down very heavily on children and their families. The social media is flooded with youngsters writing against Modi ji. Or if you go to the video they upload on Instagram, you see the comments. You'll see the change in the younger generations. They have taught us how to react with this government. So it is very beautiful to see how youngsters are reacting to this government, this anarchy they have created in the country.
No, but this video apology, you see that this is some sort of a deterrence, which Prime Minister Modi or the Modi government is trying to seed into the system. That look, we've this is the kind of pressure we can put on the students. We'll ask them to issue video apologies, so you dare not. Is that the
This
message?
this all this all quagmire they are creating, they'll be dwelling in this only. The country knows about it.
Right.
जितना ज्यादा ये करेंगे उतना ज्यादा और clear होगा बच्चों के लिए.
All right. All right. Thank you, Sarvesh. I think I'll let you go because you're traveling and your signal might
Thank you,
get
thank you, thank
disconnected.
you, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let me come to Anchal now. Anchal, can you hear me now? Because earlier you messaged me that you are you able to hear me? You have to.
Yes, yes, I can
All
hear
right.
you clearly.
Right. So I want you to decode both the videos, one of Prime Minister Modi and the other, of course, by this teenager who is forcibly, at least it seems so, that she's recording the video forcibly. So, what do you have to say to the two videos? And do you think that the Gen Z is going to trust the Prime Minister when he says, I'm going to forgive the youths?
Inuji, thank you for having me in the show, and my greetings to all the panelists. Uh, See, earlier also, if we remember over the last 12 years, there have been people who have been adults. Now, I don't remember the cases at the top of my head right now, but adults who have been from different fields who have issued public statements like this. I think there was a comic who was a 25 to 30-year-old comic who had to issue an apology. Then there was some other person who had to issue an apology to the government in general, or to some specific BJP functionary or minister or somebody, that, my words were taken out of context or something like that. So this is just a 16-year-old child. We are in that zone now. Our country has de facto entered that territory where it's all just a power hierarchy that is kind of running this country now, and whatever few democratic, egalitarian, solidarity forces are there and all that, they are trying their best to kind of push back, to resist, to struggle, and to kind of
Right.
continue.
Now, I want to read out a few reactions which have come on the social media. Like Ram Subramaniam has written, and this is in response to what Prime Minister Modi's Insta reel says yesterday. I watched the video of Prime Minister Modi in his trademark patronizing cringe style. How can our daughters speak such language? Sir, they are not your daughters. People are not your children. You are not the father of this nation. Your job is governance, and you are failing. Anchal, what is the kind of message which Prime Minister Modi was actually giving through his Instagram reel?
Uh, as you said, Niluji, I mean, it is there is a patronizing tone in that message, and I believe that the fundamental culture and ideologies of the BJP are, for some kind of a hierarchical society at many levels, where you believe that uh, they have their own concept of de facto head of the family, or head of the community, or head of the any social group, or things like that, who have some higher right than others to decide for the rest of the community or the family, or things like that. So there are, in general, I'm not specifically saying here about the Prime Minister himself, but in general in the BJP culture, I believe that there is a patriarchal tone, and the patriarchal culture exists, and this exists in other places as well in India, but especially in the BJP. So that fundamental, culture of that patriarchal tones are still there. And with regards to the Prime Minister's video, I mean, he has always tried to, project his own image, or his, brighten his own reputation through whatever communication he does through his Man Ki Baat videos or others. So that was another attempt by the Prime Minister to his constituency, to his support base, that, see, I am a magnanimous and a very, gracious person, and I forgive these young children and all that. But of course, actions speak louder than words. So we can all see that, his government and his party, the way they have been behaving. So his words and his government's and his party's actions are not coherent at all. They are not in the same direction. In fact, they are at times opposite. So the real questions need to be asked about the actions of his government at all levels: the RAF, the police. Who gave the permission to use pellet guns? Who gave the permission to use tear gas on the protesters? And over the last few years, there are countless videos available of BJP functionaries, BJP members hurling outright abuses at everyone, all the way from senior opposition leaders to activists to students to everyone. So, I mean, I don't know this is heights of hypocrisy by the BJP, that, they are now trying to show all kinds of, they are trying to project an image of sanskari and things like that and all that. I mean, we all know it is hypocrisy. And at the end of the day, they know that the last thing that works in their favor is because all the state machinery is in their hands. So they are trying to push fear into the minds of the people through these things.
Right. All right. So there's a tweet by Abhijit Dipke also. Will FIRs also be filed against the IT cell members who have abused women in the worst possible manner for all these years. Now, let me come to Tanveer. Tanveer, I want you to talk about Prime Minister Modi's Insta reel, which he records, and he says that these are misled youths, they have been misguided. Let's bring them all on track. Then he goes on to say that I will forgive them, even though they have abused me and my mother. Then he says that, and then he gives the analogy of tongue and the teeth. That you don't, you don't yank away your teeth just because it has bitten the tongue. Those kind of analogies which he gives. Is Prime Minister Modi? What is the kind of message you think Prime Minister Modi is giving? Is it an intimidatory style which he has innovated, laced with a lot of politeness, or would you say that this is some sort of a video which actually spreads more fear and apprehension as to what's going to do what's going to happen with the protesters now?
Yeah, so I think one needs to deconstruct, this whole video. Of course, the fact that I'm not supporting any abusive language against Prime Minister or for that matter anyone. Uh, in protest, of course, this language is not accepted. But having said that, there are a couple of things I think when we try to deconstruct this whole video, what I see is that, of course, there is a patronizing uh, tendency, there is a patronizing tone, right? And in patronizing, he has chosen a girl, a minor girl, right? And well, there are so many boys also who had said a lot of things, but he has chosen a minor girl, and perhaps I don't know, he is not able to take it that how can a girl or a woman can say all these things to me. So that, of course, you know, with that patriarchal mindset and, of course, patronizing tone, there is this whole concept of power over, right? You know, if the ministers have, ministers have this tendency of power over people, that we are more powerful than you, and therefore I can, excuse you, right? Whereas, in a democracy, I think there should be a concept called power with. We all are sharing power, right, with the minister, with the prime minister, anyone, for that matter, in the government. We're sharing power, right? So another point that what I'm trying to say is that there is this whole idea of power over to youngsters, power over to, girls, power over to Gen Z, and he's giving a message, right? He's giving a message that Gen Z is basically a misguided youth, right? Farmers were misguided for that matter, if you remember. So immediately the refrain was that farmers are misguided. So now it's youth. And apology, of course, means that they have realized their mistakes. So they were mistaken for the protest. So protest is bad. So somehow, this whole video of Prime Minister is to discredit the movement, right? So any movement, the government tries to discredit it. So this is one of the ways of discrediting the movement, right? Now, my question is, simple question is that who has brought this whole culture of impunity, right? I mean, if we just go back couple of years, maybe 10 years or 8 years, this whole culture, he says that he got cultural shock. What about this culture? When you lynch Muslims, right, and then you record videos, and then you circulate it across the nation with all kinds of explicits to Muslims, and nothing has been done, right? It's a mob psychology, so therefore no zero FIR, nothing. I don't know, nobody has been picked up, right? So in open there is a threat to Muslims about genocide. I mean, abuse, personal abuse, you take it one side, and on the other side, a threat to genocide killing, butchering, lynching, all these things are happening, right?
Right.
Now, who has gotten this whole culture of impunity? So I think the government is getting the taste of its own culture of impunity. And let me tell you, this
Absolutely.
these Gen Z is not misguided youth, right? The manner in which they are asking questions, I think we in the older generation, we were not asking such kind of a question, right? So my point is that don't discredit Gen Z. Don't tell them that they are misguided youth. Don't tell them that they do not know much about politics. Don't tell them that they are some kind of a group who basically whose work is to study and not to do
Right.
all these things, not to get
Right.
involved into politics. So
Right.
I think when we deconstruct these videos, we are very clear that on the one hand there is a crackdown by the police going on. Still it is going on, right? It's a
Yes.
crackdown by the police is going on in the hostels, in other places. This is what I'm seeing, right? Through So on the one hand it's crackdown, and on the other hand, there is this patronizing video which is coming up, which doesn't go well. See, Gen Z understands everything. Gen Z cannot be fooled. This is I have come to realize the fact that they are rebel. Now, this Gen Z, they are rebel with a cause. During our times, we were rebel without a cause, right? But this time, the rebel, they are with a cause, and the
Right.
cause is their future life, right?
Right.
They are seeing it. They are
That's
not
the biggest
seeing that.
apprehension of the government. And because they
That's the
are a
biggest.
rebel with a cause, that's the biggest apprehension
That's the
of the
biggest
people.
apprehension, that tomorrow they are going to ask some of those questions which they do not have any answer.
Right.
AI would going to replace 30-40% of the jobs across, not physical but mental jobs. Is going to. Now this is the real question. What are you going to do? You don't have enough infrastructure, enough sort of space, industries, etc., which can absorb these graduates. What are they going to do? These are the real questions. They are seeing their life and they are seeing it is endangered, right? So that's the questions they are formulating, and day in and day out they are formulating these questions, and the government doesn't have. So government is trying to just divert all these real hard
Right.
questions towards questions of, let's say, morality, subjectivity, etc. So this is the real issue.
Right. All right. Now let me come to the concluding comments. Raj Lakshmi, coming to you now. If you look at the reel put out by Prime Minister Modi, he's trying to sound and look very generous. That look, you hurled abuses on me, but I will forgive you. That is the kind of message. But at the same time, what Tanveer just pointed out, he's also discrediting the entire campaign. That look, these are misguided youths, and how could girls use expletives? Now, this is the kind of the kind of message which is being put out. Do you think that this particular reel put out by Prime Minister is really going to cut ice with the Gen Z, even though an apology video by a girl has come in? Very
No, it
briefly, and
won't
then I'll
actually, because yeah,
yes,
because he's been in fact very stingy with facts also, because he says that everybody saw what happened at Jantar Mantar, and he's referring only to those select abuses, but everybody saw what happened at Jantar Mantar also, also in a different sense about the, I mean, in terms of the police excesses, right? And which is what has shocked most people, not so much the abuses. Actually speaking, they haven't shocked people at all. Yes, he may have felt sort of slighted, I mean, sort of personally, because he as a PM can be talked about like that, when he as PM can talk about everybody else. He as PM can talk about the opposition parties and leaders in all kinds of terms. He as PM can refer to sections, of people in this country as termites. I mean, he as PM doesn't have to say a word about the fringe elements, saying one thing after the other, in fact making communal statements all the time. In fact, and the IT and trolls unleashed on in the social media space. They're all right wing trolls. I don't think there are any sort of left wing trolls or any sort of progressive trolls. Okay, all those trolls belong to a particular kind of a mindset, where they threaten journalists also with rape and with in fact bodily harm. Okay, so it's not just also this just has been happening since this government in fact took over in 2014, Nilu, and they have in fact imposed a culture of fear and a culture of silence upon people. Of course, the first thing that if anybody sort of criticizes the government, you're going to be called an anti-national or an urban national. Okay, so these terms, where have these terms sprung out from? They have certainly not come from the people. They have come from a certain kind of a political ideology, and especially in fact right wing political ideology, which is rampant the world over also. So there's a certain kind of a language that is patronized by these people. And also this thing about लड़कियों के जुबान से, मतलब this whole bhar, this whole burden of sanskar on women. So this is the conservative in fact mindset of this of the RSS's ideology, which everybody knows how they see women, how they view women. I mean we had governor, okay, who said that women should be good mothers, even if they're working. Okay, their primary role is that of mothers. Okay, so which means that that your entire in fact your entire personality stems from the fact of being of being like of being mother, or in fact or not being a mother. Okay, and that and that you're defined and that you're
Right.
defined by biological role. Okay,
Right.
this kind of a regressive in fact
Right.
mindset is
Absolutely.
really associated with the Hindu right
Right.
wing, essentially.
No,
Yeah,
but all
and
this while,
he exemplifies it.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, all this while, when Prime Minister Modi was recording these Insta reels, I'm sure it would have something would have clicked him, and which is why he took to Instagram. He wasn't that active. Anchal, I'll come to you. That now, to presume that Prime Minister Modi has won the hearts of the Gen Z, I think it would be a foolhardy idea to think that way. But has Prime Minister got more alienated after yesterday's midnight reel? Or do you think maybe things could be better, and especially after the protesters, after they've seen that there is a video apology by the students, they might go soft? So what could be the instant reaction? Will it alienate Prime Minister Modi from the Gen Z? Will Gen Z stop reacting? What is your sense? What could happen? Very briefly.
Neeruji, it depends on how both sides work now. If the BJP and the right-wing ecosystem starts working on many fronts to actually further penetrate the Gen Z strata of our society and gradually develop and spread their own ideologies and start developing bases, support bases in them, and get more and more people on their side. Or on the other hand, if there's far more consolidation and the grouping together of the opposition, civil society, democratic forces in the country, and they are constantly now in a one coherent single voice raising issue after issue after issue, and all coalescing it into one single grand narrative of how our republic in itself is in danger and our fundamental constitutional values are in danger, the future of our sovereign democratic republic is in danger, then more and more people from the Gen Z and even from millennials are going to gradually shift towards this side, where people believe in the constitutional values, democratic values, the republican values of our country. So it all depends on how both sides work. We are right now in the middle of a fundamental ideological struggle, ideological battle, where two sides are completely opposed to each other. You should not make any bones about it. We should not have any doubts about it. So it all depends on how both sides work and how effectively both sides work. Whoever are in leadership positions, whoever are in coordinating positions, of how they try to bring more and more people towards their side. Whether the
Right.
constitution wins or whether the BJP ideology wins, that's the future is
Right.
going to
Very,
decide.
very briefly, Professor Tanvir, what according to you could happen now? Will the Gen Z go into a shell, or could there be an overreaction? There could be more fury, more rebellion. What could it end into?
Well, I think I think the government at the moment is in catch-22 situation. Why I'm saying this is because, Gen Z, by their sheer number, right? Uh, the government would not like to alienate them, right? And day by day we are seeing that their size is increasing. More people, particularly I have heard that Gen Z's parents who were the BJP supporters are also going back to their kids, because at the end of the day, they love their kids more than the ministers. So it's a a political also, in a sense that uh, it's not easy to alienate them, right? A and B, of course, the battle of nerves is going on at the moment, right? And I'm seeing that Gen Z is winning this battle of nerves. Why I'm saying this is because you see all the leaders, Dipke and other, most of them, they're coming out with very strong statements, and they are not cut down. Despite the fact that Dipke was offered to join BJP, or else, there was a threat. This is what he said in an interview, right? But still, he's not cowed down. He is confronting. He knows very well that the numbers support him, right? And it is increasing, and now it has become global. You see, he's getting the support not only from this country but across everywhere. Who so loves democracy? Who so loves freedom of speech? Who so loves personal autonomy? So they're all supporting him,
Right.
right? And
All
there
right.
and therefore this battle of nerves, it's very difficult for government to win this battle of nerves. So therefore they are picking up carrot and stick policy. So the
Right.
stick, of course, when they pick up the stick policy, it is there where they are going to lose. And the
Right.
government and the Gen Z is very easily understanding that this whole patronizing tendency is
Right.
actually the loss of the government. It's not
Right.
because they
Absolutely.
understand patronizing. They understand that this is done because of they are trying to patronize.
Absolutely. So you said that this was a carrot and a stick policy. This could also be viewed as a good cop and a bad cop story, which is playing out now. How does this entire thing end into? Nobody knows. And what is the guarantee that no more FIRs are going to be registered? What is the guarantee that the children will not be harassed? These young protesters who were there. What is the guarantee there's not going to be another coercive video apology by another student? Do we have answers to that? No, but Prime Minister is trying to put a lid on the entire story by saying that, look, I have a big heart and I have forgiven all these protesters. So let's see. Let's look out for another day how things unfold. Maybe, who knows, there are some more stories coming in the coming days. We'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Professor Tanveer, TK Rajlakshmi. Anchal, thank you very much for joining.